Welcome to Behind the Investigation. I'm Anastasia Olmos with Atlanta News First Investigates with the one and only Better Call Harry. How are you, Harry?
I'm good, Stassi. How are you? It's been a long time since I've seen you about 5 minutes ago.
About 5 And you know, we do these Behind the Investigations where we get to kind of hear about how the story came about, how you investigated, but I feel like people can't really get a full idea of how you do your investigations unless they sit next to you 24/7 every single day.
Oh,
like
you
I
mean
do.
like you do?
Yes. So Harry's process involves a lot of phone calls, a lot of talking, even when he's not talking to anybody, still talking. So this is one story about a single deck collapse that I have heard you talking about for weeks now. And when I saw the story, I still saw elements that you hadn't even talked about. So this was a story that you first found out about by somebody reaching out to you. Tell me how the process went.
Well, you know, we get a lot of emails, and people can email me directly, bettercallharry@wanf.com, and this was one of those emails that came in. And, you know, the couple, they're longtime homeowners in Brookhaven. They have a deck. The deck is original to the house, and they thought it was fine. And what's amazing about this story is, number one, that people weren't more injured than they were,
Right.
because it involves a deck collapse where two people were on the deck. We had one person breaking their ankle, and you'll see that in the story in just a second. But I quickly realized that this was more about what everyone needs to know, because if you look around Metro Atlanta, just about everybody has a deck. And no one thinks about whether or not it's safe. So we decided to tell this story, talk about what they went through with their insurance company, at the same time give, you know, the viewers some takeaways so that they can actually go home and look around and say, wait a second, do I need to do something here?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a listen.
When Nancy and Steve Joffrey's backyard deck collapsed, the longtime Brookhaven homeowners were on their way to the Florida Panhandle. Their niece stopped by the house with a friend when everything crashed to the ground.
They came to pick up some beach chairs, and they were kind enough to let the dog out on the deck, and then the deck collapsed while they were on it.
The Joffrey's dog made it inside, but the fall broke their niece's ankle. They got the call and pulled over in shock.
We pull over because we're in shock. Your deck really doesn't collapse.
But we didn't know what to do. Do we turn around and go do anything? And our niece said, there's no reason for you to come back. There's nothing you can do.
Most homeowners don't think about the quality of deck construction. The Joffrey's deck is original, built in the 90s, when the building codes were different.
You've got two bolts that are coming in, not enough of them on the ledger.
But the only way to know how safe a deck is to have it inspected.
Does it meet today's building codes? No.
Atlanta News First Investigates asked Stan Garnett to take a look. He is certified through the American Society of Home Inspectors and has been inspecting and building decks for 3 decades. He says every homeowner should inspect their decks every 5 to 10 years. Why? Because the average deck lifespan is only 15 to 20. And listen to this.
So the deck collapsed for a number of reasons. The manner in which it was built structurally from the get-go, although it passed inspection at the time around 29 years ago when it was originally built, it no longer meets current code requirements. It does not follow the protocols.
Do you see where the nails are sticking out? That's how the builder in the 90s secured it to the house. Garnett says it would never pass inspection today.
Built brand new at that time?
Correct.
Had a deck attached to it?
Correct.
But how were the Joffreys supposed to know?
What do you do?
And yet, days after the collapse, the Joffreys say their insurer said it was dropping them for negligence and indicated that it may not pay the claim. That was in September.
I'm getting very emotional because, you know, one of the reasons we weren't so ready to jump on them so quick is because the week after it happened, he was diagnosed with cancer. So that's our priority, is cancer, not a deck.
Here we are in February.
Here's the view that we get.
It's a nice view, but don't step outside.
So if there's a fire or any issues, we have nowhere to go.
The insurance company finally agreed to pay the claim. Steve is doing better, but he wants this crisis resolved so that he can deal with his own.
What do you want?
The deck fixed, and that's it. Let's move on.
We're going to continue to follow this story, but we want to leave you with some takeaways because there are things that you can check yourself, like when you walk on your deck, does it move? And what about the stairs? Do they move? And does the whole staircase move when you shake it? Here's one other thing. Get underneath the deck and look for rot. And what about your post? Look at this. It's buried in the ground. That's not good. One last thing, I promise. Call your insurance company and make sure that you have enough medical coverage. Fortunately, the couple in this story did. I'm Better Call Harry, keeping your family safe.
Okay, wow. Bringing in that he is also, suffering now from cancer. It's just like these are everyday people that are dealing with their insurance companies. Can we go back to that that negligence letter that he got? Talk about kind of the regulations around your insurance company doing that to you.
Your insurance company is supposed to give you, they're supposed to come out and inspect. And that was one of the reasons why we jumped on this story. Is that one of the things that they told us, and this is again kind of behind the scenes, is that the insurance company went ahead and just immediately cut them off and dropped them from the insurance policy without coming out to actually inspect the deck. And we don't know how that came to be, how they made that decision, but it was just one of those it was a part of the story that was like, let's kind of see where this goes. Do we name the insurance company? Do we contact them? And we made a decision early on, Stassi. You kind of weigh it out. Do you go after the insurance company? Do you name the insurance company? And we decided in this case not to at first because it was still ongoing. Mm-hmm. And we felt like if we stepped in immediately, we kind of put them on the defense. Okay. And the couple, we just didn't want the couple not to get a resolution here. So
how did they respond? Did they challenge it? How did that process work? Because I know a lot of our emails that we get are people that have either been dropped, non-renewed, and they don't know what next steps to take.
Yeah, they didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to challenge it. I mean, they called them, but at the same time, the husband was dealing with a recent cancer diagnosis, so they didn't really have time. The funny thing about this story is it wasn't me who jumped in to save the day. It was the homeowner's brother.
Okay.
And I happen to know who he is. And he was just, he made it all the way up to the top, okay. Ended up speaking with a vice president, okay. And just kept pushing the issue. And before we went to air with the story, we realized that the insurance company actually was going to take care of this claim.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so there's a huge takeaway right there is you don't have to accept everything that your insurance company says. We always, reach out to insurance companies, whether we name them or not, and they respond that they welcome any supplemental information. So right. Always reach back out. In this case, it worked. And then the outcome there, where are we now?
So now we're back and forth. That is an important takeaway. The squeaky wheel does get the grease. Yeah. And the brother stepped in and made enough noise that they finally responded where we didn't have to. But where we helped them out was coming in and bringing in a home inspector to actually show them what they needed to do to rebuild the deck. So that's where the process is now. The insurance company presented them with a figure that is way too low. And what a contractor told me is a lot of times they'll start, 30% lower than the actual cost, hoping that the insured will take the check. Yeah, they'll accept it without a fight. Yeah. So what they're going to do at this point is they're getting a quote. They're going to get that contractor involved, and then the contractor will speak with the insurance company and say, hey, for me to rebuild the deck exactly like it was, here's how much we're going to have to spend. Here's my list of supplies. here's our timeline, and then they go back and forth. But yeah, you got to fight with your insurance company. You fight in a nice way,
Right.
but you ask and ask and ask until,
And sometimes 3 quotes,
yeah,
just to show them this is actually how much it will cost.
right, right. One quote is not enough. And also, one thing I need to add: if you're going to have somebody do deck work, there's a lot of people who are willing to do deck work without a permit. You want a permit. That's one of the reasons this deck probably collapsed. I mean, it was old to begin with.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the codes back then, as we were seeing in the story, are not what the codes are now.
Yeah.
So if you're going to rebuild that deck, you want it to code.
Okay. And, in the end of the story, you gave some takeaways for homeowners there that might have a deck that they need to, check out. In the end there, you're on the stairs, they're kind of wobbling a bit. Insurance, how many years will they cover up to? And then what should people be doing right now?
I think right now is the next time that you're outside, look around your deck. I mean, you can go underneath your deck, if, let's say it's on the second floor, and just go underneath and look for rusted bolts, look for rot, look for push on stuff, bang on stuff. I mean, if the deck is moving, then maybe you need to have an inspector come out there or a deck company come out there and at least fix it and make sure that it is secure, because deck accidents, I mean, they can be deadly.
Yeah. And your insurance there, should you reach out and see if you can hit your deductible there to get them to help you replace it, or is it best maybe just doing it on your own?
That's a tough question. I wish I had a good answer for that one.
Yep, tough questions here, Harry.
I know, but so are you saying call the insurance company to say, hey, my deck is not
Yeah,
in good shape?
yeah. Can we replace it? Can you help me out with the funds, or should they just do it on their own?
No, I think you're on that one. I don't hold me to this, but it's not like the roof where you say come out and maybe they'll do the repair, but I could be wrong on that one. But my gut tells me if you've got rot, that's a maintenance issue.
Yeah.
Anything that's going on with your deck is going to be a maintenance issue. It's with your roof, getting your roof replaced, it's because of something like hail damage. If a tree hits your deck or there's some sort of damage, then yes, you call your insurance company.
Yeah.
So actually, I'm going to change that and say I'm pretty darn sure that maintenance, in fact, I know because that was cited in this letter, maintenance is the homeowner's responsibility. And if you don't know how old your deck is, well, yeah, you need to look at it. Number two, if the lifespan of the deck is only 15 to 20 years,
Time for an upgrade.
it's time for an upgrade. Yeah.
Definitely before something like this happens at an inopportune time in one's life. Any updates on our family and how he's doing health-wise?
He's doing better. He just finished chemo.
Okay.
And I think he's had a really good outcome, and they're very optimistic about this, which we were really glad to hear.
Yeah,
and they're just
awesome.
going back and forth on quotes. So we're going to follow the story and show you what happens as the deck is built and when it's completed.
All right, of course. All right, so thank you for listening, and of course follow Better Call Harry on all of his social media. He's always posting updates, and hopefully we'll get one on this story here, a good one. You can also catch any of our podcasts anywhere that you stream your podcasts, Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere online. Thanks for listening.